Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, All People, the #1 player in the cultivation world. Chapter 81. Taking a closer look, Zhang Shuyu discovered that the bodies of the 3 queen guards were all shining with silver luster, as if they were covered with a layer of armor. He understood that these 3 personal guards should have used the meat shield skill, which greatly increased their defense power, and only then did they block the damage caused by the bone explosion. The effect is good, but I don't know how much damage it can withstand. The undead puppet has rushed up, running like lightning. The guards had already surrounded them when they landed, and the skills of the ghost magician also came out in response, adapt superimposed blows. The body of the 3 queen guards all shone with the light of skills, and their whole bodies were extremely hard. With one mouthpart, they bit the undead puppet. In this way, the undead puppets can't move at all, and it is difficult to hurt them. They are also the same. If you take the undead puppet, you can't do much damage. The attribute difference is too big, and the attack power of only 6,000 is not enough to face the undead puppets. You might not even be able to beat one-on-one, not to mention there are 170 undead puppets right now. And there are 80 ghost magicians behind, which is completely out of proportion. Therefore, even if they control a few undead puppets, other attacks will still fall on them. I saw the silver light on them quickly dimmed. Suddenly, the queen flapped her wings again, the huge butterfly wings waved a strong wind, and a strong storm swept over. Many undead puppets were blown away by the storm, and some were pulled into the storm. The undead puppets were injured one after another. Although the health bars did not drop much, it was enough to show the power of the queen's skill. Zhang Shuyu knew that he and the summoned creatures had the passive skill Shadow Shield for protection, which could reduce a lot of AP damage after activation. Even so, the undead puppet was also injured. If it didn't have this skill, it would probably be hurt even more. It is even possible to switch to other monks, to be instantly killed. Zhang Shuyu's complexion changed, and he took 2 steps back quickly, standing behind the ghost magician. He put on a 6-stage armor for himself again, and the storm blew on the ghost magician. It's a pity that the ghost magician's physical body is not as strong as the undead puppet, and he was blown to bits and pieces. Fortunately, the distance is far away, and the boss's skills are no longer that powerful. The 6-stage armor continued to flicker faintly, blocking this wave of attacks. Zhang Shuyu knew that the biggest weakness in the entire team was only himself. Even though he now has a 6-stage armor, only his defense is still the weakest one. If he receives a severe impact and the damage is transferred to the summoned creatures, they will also be injured. Moreover, this kind of damage is evenly distributed according to the percentage of his defense power, completely ignoring the puppet's defense value, so if he can avoid injury, he will never take any risks. The storm lasted for a full 20 seconds before it stopped. The undead puppets all fell down one after another, and continued to get up and rush towards the target. They don't know pain, they don't know what fear is, they only know how to obey orders. It can be called the most perfect fighting machine. The same is true for the ghost magician. All kinds of skills have been echoed by the undead puppets. For a while, the entire wormhole was bombarded. The skills of the queen's personal guards no longer had any response, and their protection mechanism completely collapsed under the rainy attack. Chirp. Die on the spot. The light on the other 2 monsters also disappeared, and Zhang Shuyu shot directly without hesitation. Boom boom boom. 3 consecutive bombings with dead bones. The first time killed 2 queen guards and injured the queen. The second and third times, the queen couldn't escape. Its wings were blown off, and its long insect body was blown to a bloody mess. At this time, it was already half dead. Suddenly, the queen's body began to shrink continuously, and finally turned into a cocoon, wrapped in place. This layer of cocoon seems to have a very strong defensive power, and the sword of the undead puppet can't cut it through. Even the ghost magician's attack couldn't be broken for a while. It's a defensive skill similar to sword repair, alas. Tisk, I want to see how long you can last. Such skills are limited in time, and once the attack is stronger, the duration will be shorter. The undead puppets keep attacking, and the ghost magician also does not rest for a second. Even though the queen was in the cocoon, she was still howling in pain, and the sound resounded throughout the wormhole. Rustling. After a while, Zhang Shuyu's ears were filled with the thrilling sound of hair needles rubbing against each other. Zhang Shuyu turned his head and saw that it was indeed a frost caterpillar. They are coming in this direction from various passages, they look like mad cows, and they walk like flying. This is the unique skill of the queen, and it almost calls all the other frost caterpillars over. Zhang Shuyu never expected that the queen would use such a trick to send other frost caterpillars to die. Good luck, I'm having chicken tonight. Zhang Shuyu was in a very good mood, and this home-delivered experience was like a gift package for a newcomer from God. After he turned around, he put away 20 of the undead puppets. The next moment, they all appeared in front of Zhang Shuyu, holding their swords, and galloped towards those countless frost caterpillars. At the same time, the ghost magicians also adjusted their skills and aimed at the group of frost caterpillars. The artillery fire concentrated on a butterfly. Click. It fell to the ground and could no longer move. Then, the entire wormhole was filled with roars and the sound of falling gravel. Fortunately, these permafrost layers are strong enough and seem to have been condensed for tens of millions of years, so there is no tendency to collapse. At this moment, the dry bone war was played to the extreme, and a series of bugs were blown to death. No matter how many frost caterpillars there are, they can never get close to the queen. Now, Zhang Shuyu's experience bar really rose rapidly. Zhang Shuyu didn't know exactly how many frost caterpillars were summoned by the queen's sound wave. He only saw clearly that his experience bar had increased by 30% in an instant, and it was still rising. If there were always so many Zerg for him, he believed that he would be promoted several levels soon. I don't know how long it took, but no more butterflies and insects came in from behind, only a few left. What a pity. Before he finished feeling, a beam of light appeared on his body. It has been upgraded. Does it mean that there will be a pause every 12 levels? It doesn't matter, as long as it can be upgraded, it is not a problem. Right now, the mustard space has expanded to 260, but he doesn't have enough mental power, so after eating a snow spirit fruit, he summoned 3 magicians and 7 undead puppets. Well, filled up. Turning around and looking at the boss, he saw that the other party was intact. Not only the skin and flesh had recovered, but also several pairs of butterfly wings had grown out. I haven't used voice input for a while, but the speed has slowed down a lot. Isn't planning too stupid to take advantage of this time to recover? Then what's the point of those blood bars I hit just now? Although he doubted life, it did not prevent Zhang Shuyu from continuing to allow the undead puppets and magicians to use their skills and concentrate on attacking the boss. The boss seemed to be a little more fierce than before. It flapped its wings, one piece at a time, and knocked the undead puppets into the air. It's just that the situation was not as it wished. The intruders who were beaten into the air didn't suffer much harm. They stood upright and continued to run towards themselves alive and kicking, holding the sword like a toy. The queen was no longer able to use her skills, and in the end she could only watch herself being slaughtered, with sorrow in her eyes. Maybe it will never understand why it was killed so easily. After killing the frost caterpillar, experience plus 960000, get the yellow level frost hair forehead chain 1, the yellow level frost hair dagger 1, the frost caterpillar egg 1, and the low level animal core clothes black lens bracket. Zhang Shuyu took out an egg-like object from the void storage domain, with fluorescence flowing on it. This worm egg can be handed over to the beast master for cultivation, and it can hatch the boss just now. In this way, Zhang Shuyu has an army of Zerg in disguise. But the attack power of these Zerg is impressive, and his mustard space is absolutely not enough. Forget it, first, put it away and talk about it later. As for the other 2 yellow-level weapons, Zhang Shuyu was dispensable, and they could just exchange some spirit stones. After the queen died, the corpse disappeared within 2 minutes. The step ladder it hides beneath reveals itself. The way forward is indeed here. Zhang Shuyu touched his chest in relief, letting the undead puppets walk in first. There is nothing in the entire underground passage, all are white and blue ice walls. The inside was twists and turns, and it took an unknown amount of time before Zhang Shuyu was able to breathe the cold air that had been drawn to the ground. The frost and snow in the barren snowfield dazzled his eyes, and there were endless snow-capped mountains and glaciers in front of him, which was much colder than in the wormhole just now. But what is different here than the previous glaciers is that within Zhang Shuyu's line of sight, there is an ice palace, which is very gorgeous. The glittering and translucent ice castle seems to be carved directly from a large mountain of gemstones, a magical workmanship. Is this the place where the boss Ice and Snow Nine-Tailed Fox lives? It's really a big deal. To get here, one must go through the frost caterpillar's lair. At this time, Zhang Shuyu has entered the instance for 10 hours. The territory of this dungeon is too vast, and he spent almost half of his time looking for the way. Now that he has a goal in front of him, he will naturally not let it go. The undead puppets and magicians are all moving forward at full speed, striving to arrive as quickly as possible. The longer the time dragged on, the lower and lower the chance of getting the ice lotus. Laugh. A flash of lightning fell from the sky and hit Zhang Shuyu directly. The 6-stage armor immediately responded, and the black light burst out, and after a while, it collapsed in an instant. Zhang Shuyu didn't expect the sudden attack to be so powerful. His heart skipped a beat, and he quickly took a few steps back. But the thunder and lightning seemed to have eyes, and kept following his figure. The undead puppet door was extremely fast, and immediately ran over to form a hemispherical cover to protect Zhang Shuyu. Zhang Shuyu looked out from the gap. It turned out to be a snowman in midair. Its nose was made of carrots. If he hadn't held up the staff, he almost thought it was a snowman piled by some child on the side of the road. At this time, the opponent's eyes made of 2 snow spirit fruits passed through the gap without expression, and looked at him. No matter how you look at it, there is a strange color. The most important thing is that this snowman also knows how to attack himself. He doesn't care about so many summoned creatures in front of him. He is really smart. The undead puppets subconsciously jumped towards the snowman the first time Zhang Shuyu was attacked. After a few strikes, Snowman seemed to find that he was powerless to defend himself, so he decisively chose to turn around and retreat. But ghost magicians don't eat white rice. The moment the snowman turned around, there were already overwhelming magic skills smashing towards it. So many attacks with extremely high damage value came overwhelmingly, and the snowman couldn't parry it at all. I saw LV 33 Shui Tuantuan Elite Monster S spiritual power value soared to 8,000, but other attributes were so weak that it was unimaginable. However, this is the first time Zhang Shuyu has seen such a pure magical monster with extremely low body values, which can't even be compared with ordinary monsters. It seems that all talents are used in magic. In retrospect, the skill attack he encountered just now did a lot of damage. In addition, this monster can escape and fly in midair. If it weren't for the fact that the monster inside couldn't be taken out, he would have wanted to get one as a pet for fun. Kill LV.33 Shuituantuan, experience plus 504000, get primary snow core. Things like snow cores can not only be handed over to weapon masters to make weapons, but also can be used to arrange formations, and there are many other uses. Zhang Shuyu obtained this kind of core for the first time, but he also knew that although this thing has a wide range of uses, it is limited by its level. Elementary items will be limited to LV.48, 48 to 84 is intermediate, and above 84 is advanced. Therefore, this snow core is not considered a special drop, and it is also prefixed with primary, so the value will not be too high. After he put it away, he continued to move forward, not forgetting to let the undead puppet start to pay attention to the movement in midair when it moved forward. Soon, the army, led by Zhang Shuyu, arrived near the ice castle. The square in front of the ice castle was extremely vast, and there were many hemispherical igloos. In front of the entire square, there are no lazy residents and monsters, they are all fully armed and have strange appearances. The head of the white fox, the body of the polar bear, the paws of the bear and the tail of the fox. There are 3 fox tails, each of which is huge and powerful, capable of sending a monk flying at any time. Their bodies are all covered with armor made of snow rocks, which is really beautiful. If other monks come here, trying to defeat them one by one, seems a bit difficult. After Zhang Shuyu thought about it, he saw countless snowballs flying towards them, and countless thunderbolts bloomed like flowers. The ghost magicians threw their skills first, and did not give the snowmen a chance to drop their skills. The undead puppets cooperated with each other tacitly, and when the Shuituantuan was about to evacuate, they all intercepted them and swung their swords. At this time, many monsters patrolling the square also noticed this place, and a team of 10 began to charge in formation, trying to disrupt the formation of the undead puppets from all directions. At this time, the disciples of Stepping Shifeng were still struggling in the wormhole, and their tactics hadn't been used yet. Unlike Zhang Shuyu, who was not afraid of tigers as a newborn calf, they had already figured out what monsters existed inside. If that shield warrior were here, he might still laugh at him for not talking about tactics. You should take the snowballs away first, clean them up one by one, and then use fishing methods to fish out the giant monsters inside. Fortunately, he would be found when Hao did not shy away from attacking Shui Tuantuan. But Zhang Shuyu didn't follow the rules. He followed the team of ghost magicians and threw the detection technique. LV.33 Bear Fox Guard General Level Monster. Compared with the General Level Snowfield Butterfly, its attack power is stronger and its speed is also greatly improved. High injury and high sensitivity, greatly improving the combat effectiveness. The defense is weaker than that of the frost caterpillars, only 6,000. Unlike the frost caterpillars, their fur is born with hard spines, so they can only rely on armor to strengthen their defense. Before the undead puppet collided with the bear and fox guards, the ghost magician's skills had already dropped. Blast, frost sweeping, blazing sun, thunderbolt. Various elements are intertwined, and the bears and foxes cannot avoid it. The spirit power of the ghost magician is high, and the AP is also frighteningly strong, even surpassing the undead puppet. Under multiple concentrated fires, the army formation of the bears and foxes was broken, and most of them were killed or injured. Zhang Shuyu followed behind, releasing his mental power, causing the puppets to throw the dead bear and fox into the air. Boom! After the tinnitus sounded, the surroundings returned to silence. Kill LV.33 Bear and Fox Guards, experience plus 460000, get Bear and Fox Tail 3. None of the bear and fox guards standing within the explosion range was spared, and Zhang Shuyu's experience soared like a rocket. On the square, there are still many monsters coming one after another, but even if they come, they are only here to give experience, and they can't stop his footsteps at all. The undead puppets continued to throw Shui Tuantuan like a three-pointer. Bang! Snow Tuantuan's solid body was split into countless small snowballs in an instant, and they smashed towards countless bear and fox guards. Zhang Shuyu has become more and more proficient in frying with dry bones. He suddenly had a premonition that as long as this skill was used a few more times, it would be upgraded. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but get excited. Zhang Shuyu rushed into the square with his army, and started killing like a crush. To be precise, it should be the constant explosion of monsters. Under the attack of 4.5 times their blood bar, the bears and foxes would not be able to resist such a tyrannical attack no matter how hard their armor was. In just a few minutes, the entire square was empty. Zhang Shuyu was puzzled. Where have all the monsters gone? It can't be that much, can it? Shish! Countless ice balls were thrown from the ice castle, and Zhang Shuyu noticed that there were snow-white three-tailed foxes on the top of the ice castle. The undead puppets rushed forward without fear, chopping up the ice balls. Pang dang! After the ice balls shattered, they finally revealed their sharp claws, poisoned darts. It was also at such a moment that the sneak-attacking monster rushed forward, tied the other end of the dart with its thick and beautiful tail, and flicked it vigorously. One dart instantly turned into dozens of darts, which were shot in other directions. The shadow shield was turned on, and the undead puppet and ghost magician were protected, and the darts almost didn't touch them. Even if you touch it, there is only a pop sound. The dart fell to the ground. LV.35 Honey Pupil 5-tailed fox martial level monster is not a magical monster as imagined, but a powerful ninja with both AP and poison. Therefore, their mental strength, defense, and agility are extremely powerful. However, they underestimated the attack value of the undead puppet, just hit the muzzle of the gun, and the blade slashed across. Matong 5-tailed fox was injured and fell from midair in an instant. They were very fast, and immediately retreated several meters behind, but the skills of the ghost magician had already chased them up. The 5-tailed foxes that failed to retreat became home experience, and only a small number of them successfully submerged into the ice castle. They were fast, and the undead puppets were even faster. They immediately followed them and entered the terrace on the top of the ice castle. Laugh! The blood of the 5-tailed foxes stained the ice castle red, and the entire front of the ice castle turned red. But the number of those who chased them was too small, far less than the number of monsters that attacked them just now. Soon, dozens of undead puppets jumped down from above. There was no way on the terrace, and the puppets didn't know where to get in, so they could only look at Zhang Shuyu in confusion. Right now, there is only one way to open the gate of the ice castle. Looking up, the ice castle is so huge that Zhang Shuyu couldn't help feeling the insignificance of human beings. I don't know where all those five-tailed foxes are hiding, but they can still continue to throw ice pucks out, causing serious disturbance to Zhang Shuyu. I'll attack the gate. He decisively changed the attack method. Anyway, the five-tailed fox couldn't hurt the puppet and the magician much, so there was no need to waste time. Pick up a five-tailed fox and throw it at the door. The puppets obeyed, and when the five-tailed fox was still alive, they were blown to pieces by Zhang Shuyu. If the disciples of Stepping Shifang saw such a scene here, they would definitely look strange. I have entered the dungeon of the barren snowfield. Why don't you know how to prepare a treasure to open the gate of the ice castle? Of course Zhang Shuyu didn't know. Looking at the dazzling skills in front of him, he still felt suspicious. Why can't it be opened? It's definitely not right if I don't fight like this. If I even struggle to open the door, then other teams will probably have more difficulty. How did they do it? But this is something for later. After he goes out, someone will naturally answer him. Boom! The two thick ice doors crashed to the ground. The undead puppets finally opened the door after being bombarded by ice hockey innocently for more than 10 minutes. Tisk, this is more tiring than fighting a boss. Zhang Shuyu suddenly felt admiration. Oh, behind the gate of the ice castle, countless bear and fox guards had been waiting for a long time. The undead puppet door ran towards the castle excitedly, waving the sword in his hand from time to time. With the blessing of the skills of the magicians, they cleaned up the monsters very quickly. Of course, Zhang Shuyu is not the kind of person who is always fishing. He stretched out his mental power, and the sound of explosions began to fill the entire hall of the ice castle. Not long after, the bear and fox guards in the hall were cleared away. Those five-tailed foxes that were hunted down before were also among them, so naturally there were no bones left. At this time, it was 12 hours before Zhang Shuyu entered the instance. Following the halls, aisles, gardens and dance halls of the ice castle, all the seven-tailed foxes and eight-tailed foxes encountered along the way were cleaned up. Before Zhang Shuyu's eyes, there were two more delicate ice-carved doors, and there was an ice sculpture of a nine-tailed fox at the door. Don't even think about it, the boss is behind the door. This time the door was very light, and it was pushed open by the puppet door. Call. When the door was just opened, a cold current whizzed past. In the very center of the hall, there is a throne. On the huge throne, there is a beautiful nine-tailed fox. Its snow-like fur is extremely soft, and its 9 huge tails are gently swinging in the hall. It was obviously very slow, but there was a piercing sound in midair. On the head of the nine-tailed fox, there is a crown made of ice, inlaid with deep sapphires, noble and elegant. I believe that many beast masters will wish they had such a beast pet after seeing this scene. It opened its lazy eyes. Even though there were so many intruders in front of it, it was still sloppy, without the slightest sense of tension. However, Zhang Shuyu felt an unprecedented sense of oppression. Although he was much worse than Xingzhen, it was the first time he felt such coercion from a monster. It seems that this is how other monks feel when they encounter powerful monsters. No wonder they were scared to cry when they saw them before. Zhang Shuyu suddenly felt that it was very reasonable to be scared and cry. It turns out that this is the Imperial boss. It's really terrifying. LV.36 Ice and Snow Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor level leader S attack and defense are all over 10,000, even better than the undead puppet. But we should still fight. You can't back down just because the coercion of the monster is a bit strong, right? Besides, he has a strong army here. Do you still have to worry about not being able to defeat him? The undead puppet door rushed up amidst the howling wind. At the same time, the ghost magicians also threw out their skills. Sorry, for the sake of Binglian, I can only deal with you as soon as possible. When the undead puppet rushed under the base of the throne, it finally yawned, shook its head and stood up. With a flash of icy eyes, the nine-tailed fox drew out 2 tails, and fanned the undead puppets away, one left and one right. Is this the unified attack method of monsters with tails? How lazy. He wants to have it too. But it's just thinking about it. After it stood up, Zhang Shuyu was startled by its nearly 30-meter body. He silently stepped back a few steps to avoid being accidentally injured. I saw that the undead puppets did not show any weakness, and continued to run forward, grabbing the hair of the nine-tailed fox. And the undead puppets who were blown away by the tail just now were also smarter, hugging the thick tail vigorously, and were brought back to the throne by the nine-tailed fox. A trace of sullenness flashed in its eyes, as if it felt that these ants were really annoying the fox. At this time, more puppets rushed up with their swords in hand. One hand grabbed the hair of the nine-tailed fox, and the other hand was responsible for chopping its flesh. Salute to at-risk staff. Looking at this scene, Zhang Shuyu was filled with admiration. Lightning, fireball, frost. All kinds of magic attacks harassed the nine-tailed fox, making it more restless. Roar. After a beast roar, a huge sword energy shot out from behind it. The entire ice castle was rumbling, but it was still extremely solid. It just shook a little, and a few ice balls fell off. The undead puppets standing in the front row withstood most of the impact and flew backwards. Isn't this too strong? No matter what Zhang Shuyu thinks, other tanks that are not well prepared and equipped are indeed unable to do a few tricks under his hands. Zhang Shuyu pointed his palm at the shadow under nine-tailed fox. The shadow was endowed with life, and 9 huge tails grew out, clinging to the body of the nine-tailed fox. The speed of the nine-tailed fox was instantly slowed down, and the pressure on the undead puppets dropped sharply. Nine-tailed fox was a little annoyed. He didn't expect to be restrained like this. It opened its mouth, and spit out a ball of fox fire from the pointed fox mouth. For a while, the blue light flourished, illuminating the entire palace even brighter. Swish! The icy foxfire struck in Zhang Shuyu's direction. Even though the ghost magicians in front of him were all protected by shadow shields, they were still injured by the cold fox fire and fell to the ground in pieces. After that, then it was Zhang Shuyu's turn. After Shadow Shield reduced a lot of AP, it naturally retained the core of foxfire. The 6-stage armor resisted for only 2 seconds, and then completely collapsed. Fortunately, before Luduanjia collapsed, Zhang Shuyu had already summoned 2 puppets in front of him to help him block it. But he didn't expect the foxfire to have sustained damage. At this time, the puppet on nine-tailed fox's body had already been burned by the light of the foxfire, and one fell unsteadily to the ground. The ice and snow nine-tailed fox immediately found the right direction and ran towards Zhang Shuyu. The sound of footsteps was like a reminder. Zhang Shuyu suddenly panicked. His defense is still too low. If he is directly attacked by the nine-tailed fox, the undead puppets and magicians will suffer huge damage. In this way, the repair time will be very long, which is okay, but not necessary. 100 undead puppets quickly gathered in the direction of the nine-tailed fox, trying to directly block its footsteps with their bodies. But things backfired. Many puppets were burned by the fox fire around the nine-tailed fox. Seeing that the nine-tailed fox was about to break up the formation of the magicians, Zhang Shuyu immediately thought that he still had a skill. A blue light flashed in front of nine-tailed fox's eyes, and then a ball of sparks sank into its mind. Ah! The boss's footsteps were blocked, and it instantly curled up in pain. Ninetails bared its teeth and claws behind it, twisting extremely. The entire dreamy ice castle was instantly cast with a strange shadow. Zhang Shuyu felt pain just looking at it. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhang Shuyu immediately opened the distance between him and nine-tailed fox. The undead puppets who had been knocked aside ran over again, swarming up, and Thunderbolt continued to use it. Zhang Shuyu breathed a sigh of relief. If this nine-tailed fox had no skills, it could be killed by consumption alone, but the most troublesome thing was that this was an Imperial-level monster, which was far beyond the comparison of other monsters. After the nine-tailed fox's sprinting skills were exhausted, the shadow entangled with its huge body again. Both the puppet and the magician tried their best to get rid of it. The nine-tailed fox became more and more irritable. Roar! With a roar, all the puppets were blown away, and its tail became powerful again. Bang bang! The undead puppets that were not shaken away were not spared either, and were also sent flying by the tail. Zhang Shuyu also became irritable rarely. Why is it so troublesome? He also knew the reason why the nine-tailed fox in front of him was an Imperial-level monster. No matter how others deal with nine-tailed fox, he treats it uniformly, simple and rude. The ice and snow nine-tailed fox's skills have been continuing, and there seems to be no sign of fading. Zhang Shuyu made the puppet stand back and waited for the impending tornado while suppressing the irritability in his heart while casting soul fire. The nine-tailed fox whose soul was burned by soul fire didn't seem to be affected in the slightest, and still went its own way. Hurrah! The entire palace became a little colder, and even the frost on the ice wall became a few layers thicker. The tornado roared, mixed with frost and snow, and the wind blade became sharper. Zhang Shuyu had a vague feeling that the undead puppets couldn't directly go up to resist the damage. But this tornado brought a benefit to Nine-Tailed Fox. Can resist the skills of the necromancers. Laugh. The undead puppets closest to the center of the storm were immediately seriously injured, and a lot of frost and snow were attached to their bodies. Zhang Shuyu was startled, and quickly put away the undead puppets. He guessed it, but the reality is far beyond his imagination. The puppets are so weak in front of this wind wall. Zhang Shuyu's soul fire skill didn't stop, and kept throwing towards the center of the storm. Finally, the moment the tornado stopped, Ice and Snow Nine-Tailed Fox felt unprecedented pain. Soul fire didn't hurt it before, and now it's all superimposed. And the skills of the magicians were finally thrown up smoothly. After using the skills, the Nine-Tailed Fox is already very weak. How can it withstand these injuries? The uninjured undead puppets were also released by Zhang Shuyu, and they rushed up holding the big sword. Thunderbolt. Following Zhang Shuyu's order, the blades of all the undead puppets burst into yellow light. With the boss weak, it must be uncomfortable to go down with more than 100 swords. Sure enough, the place where the sword fell was splashed with blood, and the beautiful fur of the Ice and Snow Nine-Tailed Fox was also scarred, exposing the flesh and blood. Its wailing gradually became much quieter. Soul fire didn't stop for a moment, still jumping in its soul, and the attack of the ghost magician became more and more violent. The nine-tailed fox struggled several times, but with little success. It wanted to use its skills again to blow these nasty little grasshoppers into the air, but of course Zhang Shuyu, who had experience, couldn't give him any more chances. The whole battle lasted for more than 20 minutes, and the nine-tailed fox finally fell to the ground unwillingly, and its figure was in the pool of blood. Open black lens bracket kill LV.36 Ice and Snow Nine-Tailed Fox, experience plus 240000. Get green level Ice and Snow Nine-Tailed Flute 1, get green level Ice and Snow Nine-Tailed Chin 1, green level Ice and Snow Nine-Tailed Sword 1, Ice Lotus 1 close black lens bracket. All loot weapons must be LV.36 to be usable. Call. Zhang Shuyu let out a long sigh of relief. He was so tired. He completely ignored the level gap between himself and the opponent, and now he just felt a burst of relaxation in his heart. This was the first and most troublesome boss he encountered after awakening the way of cultivation. Emperor-level monsters are indeed difficult to fight, no wonder you need a team to do it. If he hadn't had so many summoned creatures, he wouldn't have run over and asked for trouble. A beam of light descended from the sky. Zhang Shuyu has upgraded again, LV.27. All exhaustion was gone, and now he finally had time to look at his information carefully. At this moment, all the values of his body are much higher. Even the skill of summoning Ghost Magician has been improved simultaneously with him. Isn't it? This skill has been upgraded with me. If that's the case, then don't I have to catch up to the level of all skills in the future? Otherwise, it will be too difficult to practice in the future. He just noticed that the skill level had improved, and was shocked by his speculation, but suddenly found that he had found a bug. Right now, there are still a few snow spirit fruits in his void storage domain. Anyway, it won't be needed after the dungeon is out, so it's just now. After he neatly summoned 7 undead puppets, he summoned 2 ghost magicians. Zhang Shuyu had already made up his mind. When the time came, he would have to clean up the barren snow field again. Copy array. At this time, the dungeon formation had already exploded. Because in the big formation just now, 6 bells have already sounded. This is the unique sound when a raid record is broken. Everyone crowded in front of the instance entrance of the barren snowfield, staring at the panel above the vortex, waiting for the information to be released. At this moment, not only the disciples resident in the dungeon formation, but also many people came from other places, wanting to witness this milestone moment. I didn't expect that Stepping Chiffon could really break the record. It's amazing. I really didn't expect it. They just went in for 13 hours, right? It's really worthy of their preparation for so long. This junior brother, it may not be possible to break the record only by stepping on Shifeng. Don't look at things too one-sidedly, right? That's right. Junior brother Zhang Shuyu also went in. Maybe he was the one who made such a big scene. Which onion is Zhang Shuyu? What team is he leading? A haughty voice came, and a group of people walked into the dungeon formation brazenly. They are all dressed in uniform, with red plums and snow on their necklines. How come Fu Yanxi, who is stepping on Shifeng? He is the grandson of the Peak Master of the Snow Peak. This time, there is such a big battle to play a team dungeon. Of course, we have to come and see it. Seeing that Fu Yanxi was getting closer and closer, he strode in with the people from the Snow Peak, with a haughty look on his face. Listen to what you say, Zhang Shuyu. Who is that guy? How is his team configured? The word configuration was bitten to death by him. Because he didn't believe at all that there would be someone with more complete equipment than them on the Snow Peak. Junior brother Zhang doesn't have a team, he went in alone. PFF. Ha 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 ha. Fu Yanxi suddenly burst into wild laughter, and even burst into tears. Alone, I'm so easy to fool you as a young master. Fu Yanxi's eyes were fierce, as if the other party lied to him with one word, he would beat him up. The senior brother couldn't help taking a step back, but he bolstered himself up again, and moved forward again, speaking loudly. Fellow Taoist, don't be aggressive. I'm just telling the truth. Many people here have seen it. Hearing this, many people around nodded and agreed. That's right, junior brother Zhang did go in by himself, and he hasn't come out yet. What's the matter? You guys still want to occupy the dungeon today and prevent others from entering? Is stepping Shifeng too arrogant? Seeing more and more people condemning him, Fu Yanxi couldn't help frowning. Who is this junior brother Zhang? So many people dared to speak up for him. At this time, the little follower beside him immediately stepped forward and clung to his ear. They said that Zhang Shuyu broke the records of 2 low-level dungeons, Molten Core and Mila Sea, in the dungeon formation 2 days ago. I heard. The little follower lowered his voice. It is said that this person has something to do with Xingzhen. Hearing this, Fu Yanxi looked at the 2 low-level dungeons. I don't know if I don't look at it, but I'm startled when I see it. Even if he can't get this achievement, he has a little ability. No, in that case, wouldn't he be around LV.24? The little follower nodded approvingly. It should be, otherwise I wouldn't be able to enter the low-level dungeon. Laugh. Fu Yanxi, who had a dignified expression, sneered, a little fellow who has just embarked on the road, dares to enter the team dungeon alone, does it mean that life is too boring? HMPH. It's just a little brat trying to please the public. Don't the big guy's eyes brighten now? Could it be that the world has changed, and any cat or dog can be on the stage? After Fu Yanxi finished speaking, his little followers followed suit. That's right, how could such a little guy make any waves? That's a team dungeon. Maybe that kid just went in for a stroll and found a place to hide and sleep. Still playing a dungeon. I'm afraid he will tremble when he sees a monster. Ha 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 ha. Many people who don't know the situation, like those who stepped on the Snow Peak, don't believe that a young monk can do anything. Zhang Shuyu will definitely do it. Ling Jin couldn't bear it anymore, and finally stood up and spoke out her heart. After she finished speaking, other disciples also stood up. Yes, we trust junior brother Zhang. Fu Yanxi saw that the person at the beginning turned out to be a female cultivator, and she was also attractive, and was stuck in his thoughts for a moment, unable to find anything to say back. In the end, I could only turn my face away. What's the use of your belief? Can it be eaten as food? Suddenly a golden light shines, and a golden sentence above the panel has obviously changed. The ice lotus has dropped, and the time of the drop, April 25th, Kuimao year, Xuanwu calendar of the sky. If you want to get the ice lotus again, you have to wait until next year. This signifies that no one will be able to obtain this treasure this year. Oh my God, the ice lotus has been taken. You must know that the ice lotus has not fallen for 2 years. It's amazing. It seems that the record-breaking person killed the emperor-level monsters very fast this time. Everyone was boiling and excited. Fu Yanxi crossed his arms even more, I just said, let's step on Shifeng, we will definitely be able to get the first place this year. Not only that, but also get the Ice Lotus. At this moment, he could already imagine how his grandfather, the Peak Master, would praise him later. People who step on Shifeng are just like him, they are very proud, and they wish to put a few more gold pieces on their faces. This is the glory of the entire snow-stepping peak. The name on the panel finally appeared. Open black lens bracket LV.27 Guisho Zhongshuyu, 13H 12 feet 38 inches close black lens bracket. Gollum. Some disciples who stepped on Shifeng swallowed in fright. Aren't we stepping on the snow peak? How did you become a kid? Fu Yanxi's complexion is not very good at this time, livid, neither smiling nor not smiling. Of course, there are more people who read Fu Yanxi's jokes. Those peeping and probing eyes all fell on him indistinctly, making him extremely irritable. What are you looking at? He scolded, and finally reduced this line of sight, but his heart was still unbalanced. Where did this guy come from? Do you want to compete with us today? Since he has such strength, he chose to choose today, isn't he coming to find fault? If it wasn't for Zhang Shuyu, the one who got the Ice Lotus today, would be the one who stepped on the snow wind. The more Fu Yanxi thought about it, the angrier he became, and he stared at the entrance of the copy. After a buzzing sound, a little monk in a white robe with running water patterns and a white jade hairpin appeared in front of the entrance of the dungeon. You are Zhang Shuyu. Congratulations to brother Zhang for his great victory. Junior brother, congratulations. Junior brother Zhang, you are too handsome. You are my role model. However, Fu Yanxi's voice was drowned in this group of congratulatory voices, and Zhang Shuyu didn't notice it at all. But he noticed a venomous look. Zhang Shuyu just felt baffled in his heart. I don't know this person, why is he looking at me like that? Weird. He cupped his fists, politely thanked the brothers and sisters around him, then triggered the teleportation talisman and disappeared into the dungeon formation. He was in a hurry to hand in the task to Xingzhen. Moreover, he is really not good at communication. With so many senior brothers and sisters surrounding him, if one of them speaks a sentence, it may be gone in a day. But Fu Yanxi didn't care so much, he just felt that Zhang Shuyu heard what he said, but ignored him. Provocative. Naked provocation. Hearing someone snicker, Fu Yanxi's face flushed red, he suddenly had no face to stay in this place. What a shame and humiliation is this? He was swept away by a little doll and even slapped in the face. Let's go. After saying this, the group of people behind him also felt that they couldn't hold back their face, triggered the teleportation charms one after another, and left this place. PFF. Ha 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 ha. I laughed so hard. Have you seen Fu Yanxi's face? It's as red as a pig's liver. Cut. I insist on putting gold on my face, but I can't stop it. What can we do? He deserves to lose face. That's right, I think at least one day, the wind will be famous in the entire Holy Land, no, the entire Forum Square ha 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 ha. By the way, junior brother Zhang is quite powerful. He is now at LV 27, but I remember he was only at LV 25 before he entered. Tisk tisk, it's true for you to remind me like this. What kind of cultivation method is this ghost cultivator? I am really envious of you. Don't think about it. Is this something that humans can do? One person is playing a copy of 40 people. It's still a leapfrog challenge. What AF king pervert? What the hell? I think you're just envious. You've got pink eye ha ha ha. Xingzhen, disciple Zhang Shuyu. After hearing Zhang Shuyu's voice, the person on the opposite side raised his eyebrows lazily. Oh, is there something wrong with me? Did you not find the team? After speaking, he also yawned. The disciple has already got the Ice Lotus. Oh, it's not that I didn't find it, wait a minute. What did you say? What did you get? The disciple said that the disciple has already got the Ice Lotus. Gulu. Nan Chengxing didn't seem to be overwhelmed yet, but he adjusted his mood in an instant, and his head became much clearer. Ahem, where are you now? I'll come and find you. The disciple is in front of the cave, and my cave is. Before Zhang Shuyu could finish speaking, Nan Chengxing couldn't wait to cut off the spiritual connection. Zhang Shuyu looked helplessly at the jade slip on his neck. Forget it, the old man must have a way to find me by himself, no matter what. After the sound stopped, the disciple badge on his waist became hot. Create a new record in the barren snowfield dungeon, get 4,000 contribution points and 200 merit points. Can only be obtained once. After the contribution points and merit points were credited, Zhang Shuyu smiled with satisfaction. The rewards for the team copy are generous, and it seems to be given to him according to the reward of 40 people. One word, cool. There was a vibrating sound from the barrier, and Zhang Shuyu immediately guessed who was coming, so he stood up and walked out. Star. Before he finished saluting with fists clasped, Nan Chengxing pressed his shoulder. Swish. The two disappeared in front of Zhang Shuyu's cave. Zhang Shuyu blinked his eyes a few times. The scene in front of him has turned into a water pavilion. Surrounded by dense bamboo forests, Zhang Shuyu immediately keenly captured the atmosphere of the suburbs. There is such a residence in the suburbs. Even when there is no problem with the game server, the suburbs are not places where people can live, and most of them live in cities. What's more, there are monsters everywhere now. How is it? This is my home, isn't it comfortable? It was hard for Zhang Shuyu to believe that the Xingzhen in front of him had the smell of an old fox at this moment, with a fox tail wagging behind him. Very stinking. Comfortable. Indeed, there is a calm and peaceful atmosphere in the entire water pavilion, without any restlessness. Even under the water pavilion, there is a whole mountain peak covered by enchantment, and the mist invades, like a fairyland. The pine dew is slightly moonlight, and the clear light is still king. Only people like Xingzhen are suitable here. Let's go. After crossing several covered bridges, Zhang Shuyu finally followed Xingzhen to his destination. Zhang Shuyu has met Master Li. Like Li Jing and Nan Chengxing, they are both influential figures in the Xuanwu continent, and there is no one who does not know them. Their images were even recorded and sometimes passed on as examples by the elders. Li Jing was wearing a bright moon robe at this time. He was clearly middle-aged, but he was as energetic as a young man. He put down the teacup and waved his hands. Hey, don't engage in so many vain rituals, come and sit down and drink tea with us old guys. Nan Chengxing also spoke. Our brother Jing is very kind, don't be so rigid, relax, ah. Zhang Shuyu nodded and sat down in response, still upright. After all, that being said, Li Jing is a mythical immortal in the Xuanwu continent, and has made many impressive contributions to the Xuanwu continent, so he doesn't want to be casual. The two in front of him are people worthy of his respect, so he can't help being presumptuous. After Xingzhen handed him a cup of tea, Xingzhen said, "You can take out the ice lotus." Zhang Shuyu put down the fruited teacup, took out the fallen rosewood box, and put it on the tea table. It's really an ice lotus. Li Jing nodded in affirmation. But Nan Chengxing was more concerned about another matter. Are you really playing the dungeon alone? Well, yes. Zhang Shuyu didn't understand. What's the point of asking? Then how did you fight? Zhang Shuyu's eyebrows frowned even more strangely. Well, I played with a summoned creature. Little did he know that Nan Chengxing's mood was extremely complicated at the moment, and he didn't know why he would ask such a stupid question. Maybe it's the equal envy of everyone who can break the record alone. Li Jing gave a low cough, and hid the snicker that he almost spewed out. Shuyu, can you tell me about your record? Zhang Shuyu immediately looked over. I can't remember, I just remember it was more than 13 hours. Nan Chengxing at the side silently touched his chest, which contained an injured heart. However, Zhang Shuyu's performance in front of him made him very satisfied. From this point of view, Zhang Shuyu's strength alone was at least enough to offset 40 monks of the same level. If he can step into the third stage. Old, southern, people, what do you promise to others? Li Jing reminded me leisurely. Of course I remember, do you need to remind me? Nan Chengxing came to his senses, took out a talisman and handed it to Zhang Shuyu. This is the elementary time talisman. If you want to advance in the future, you have to do it yourself. Zhang Shuyu quickly understood the meaning of his words. What orders do you have, Xingzhen? Please tell me. Hey, you're pretty smart, kid. Nan Chengxing glanced at him appreciatively, and said slowly, do you want to worship Shendao Peak? Why would Xingzhen ask me this, something that can be guessed with his toes? Could it be, there is another task? Yes, I know that if you want to meet those conditions, the only thing that will stump you is the merit point. Do you think you can reach the standard in a short time by yourself? Zhang Shuyu's heart sank. Indeed, merit points are not so easy to get. Disciple, probably not. After all, it is not impossible to find other ways. After all, the remaining 740 merit points can always be obtained within a year if you think of a way, but in a short time. In a trance, Zhang Shuyu seemed to see a fox tail wagging again and again. Sure enough. Do you know the land of Shira? I know, it's a battlefield. Well, it's good to know, but you probably don't know that the good things in it can be exchanged for merit points. What good thing? Zhang Shuyu was a little puzzled. Aren't you a little too impatient, boy? Of course, the good things are some missions issued by the Holy Lands stationed there, and the things in those missions are considered good things. Zhang Shuyu's eyes lit up visibly with the naked eye. Nan Chengxing was very happy to see the fish hooked, and took a sip of tea slowly. Dare to ask Xingzhen, how can the disciple go to the land of Shira? Zhang Shuyu is too aware of equivalent substitutions, and no one can take advantage of anyone else. Well, the land of Shira is indeed not something everyone can go to. Although there are many dangers in it, there are many dungeons and secret realms. And the dungeon restrictions inside are much looser than the dungeon formation, and the level restrictions are the same as the barren snowfield you went to before. That's the range of 12th grade. You just need to go to some of the dungeons and bring me a few things back. It just so happens that I've made a list here. He said it was just right, but Zhang Shuyu knew that this thing must have been prepared long ago. He sighed in his heart, I am also a ruthless wage earner who works for meritorious service. The jade slip lit up, and Zhang Shuyu sneaked in with his spiritual power, and saw it. Dragon Heart 10, Dragon Blood 10, Dragon Horn 20, Dragon Core 10. Good guy, if the drop rate is not high, wouldn't he want to kill 10 dragons? Zhang Shuyu raised his eyes silently, looking at the old fox. If this is not his idol, he really wants to ask the other party if he is thinking about farting, or is he dreaming? Of course, Nan Chengxing sensed the resentful look in his eyes, suddenly felt a little funny, and explained. It's not a real dragon, it's just a monster. It has some relationship with the blood of the holy dragon. Don't worry, how could I throw a good seed like you to die? Of course Zhang Shuyu knew that he would not let himself die, and also knew that the other party wanted to cultivate him. After all, Xingzhen has always been upright, as everyone knows. Hearing this, he knew these things clearly. If he was asked to slay the dragon, it should be the holy dragon, and the holy dragon has no beast core, only dragon core. Fighting dragons will definitely fight dragons, but the hero is too bad now. Zhang Shuyu cupped his fists. Excuse me, Xingzhen, can the time talisman be used in the land of Shira? Of course. Before Zhang Shuyu could continue to ask questions, Nan Chengxing answered the question he wanted to ask. There are many ways to instill spiritual energy into the time talisman. The easiest and fastest one is to go to the artifact refining hall in the Holy Land to find a talisman master. That is to use the contribution value, which is really convenient. Or you can spend a lot of spirit stones to find a weapon maker outside, but it's not sure whether they are willing or not. They are more tempered, and you have to prepare the materials yourself. Of course there are those who have prepared the materials, so they have to pay more spirit stones. Zhang Shuyu is more inclined to find someone to do it in the Holy Land, after all he is poor. What doubts do you have recently? When the disciple was upgraded to LV.24 in the copy, there was no beam of light on his body, and he didn't have the feeling of being promoted. It only happened after he came out. Ah, what's your situation? I haven't heard of it yet. Seeing Xingzhen was dumbfounded, Zhang Shuyu immediately knew it. It seems that he accidentally ran into a bug. Disciple has another question, that is the snow spirit fruit. What? You got that thing? Have you used it? Nan Chengxing was shocked 3 times and put down the teacup. Yes, that's a treasure that can't be met, and it's not something you can encounter every time you enter the barren snowfield. It's mainly used to train the proficiency of skills. Zhang Shuyu lowered his eyes in frustration, but Nan Chengxing waved his hand and patted him on the shoulder to comfort him. Although that thing may go to the barren snowfield 20 times to encounter it once, but it is already a great opportunity, don't be greedy. The disciple understands. The two asked and answered, and Zhang Shuyu learned a lot. The upgrade of summoning skills may be another bug he encountered. Maybe these two bugs are related. The most practical thing is to practice skills in the dojo safely and steadily. Since there are no more doubts, let's wait for the welcome ceremony with peace of mind. After Zhang Shuyu left, Nan Chengxing couldn't help reaching out to touch the ice-clear ice lotus. The ice lotus jade pendant is a good thing. Tisk tisk. Li Jing was silent for a long time, and only now did he speak. He's still so low in rank, aren't you afraid that the good seedling you fancy will perish in the land of Asura? What are you afraid of? He can single-handedly challenge the team copy, which is worse than those second-level monks. That's not true, maybe he will be a lot stronger. Then it's over. Now that he has figured out his strength, it would be good to let him go to that place to exercise earlier. Are you really optimistic about that kid? Of course, since the old monster chose his older sister, then I will choose this kid, and see which one is more powerful between me and the people he cultivated. Li Jing couldn't laugh or cry. The old monster didn't want to compare with you, are you naive? Slightly. I don't care. After Nan Chengxing made a grimace, she immediately returned to her original state, as if that side had never appeared before. Zhang Shuyu, who returned to the cave, was too lazy to settle down. After he casually recruited 7 undead puppets, he fell asleep on the bed. Really tired. His body has been tempered by the polar region for more than 10 hours. If this was left in his previous life, he would have died long ago. Not long after, his breathing has calmed down, and he fell asleep. Copy array. It was already night, but there were still people coming and going. And there's no shortage of night owls. Hu Hansen, are back. A loud shout sounded, attracting the attention of many people. What are these people on the snow peak shouting about? They don't think they broke the record, do they? It seems needless to say. I'm too lazy to remind them. Anyway, the grandson of their peak master has long been humiliated today. Save some underwear for them. Having said that, the others seemed to have thought of some joke, and laughed one after another. That's what you said, but if they want to hit the guns, it won't stop them. Agree. After reaching a consensus, everyone continues to do what they should do, and no one pays attention to them. The shield guard who led the team was dumbfounded. Strange, why didn't you hear the applause? Why in the entire formation, only those who are riding the snow wind are excited? Brother, it's not good, you look quickly. The shield guard's eyes followed the direction pointed by the junior, and after he saw it clearly, he couldn't help shivering. The ice lotus has fallen. We didn't get it. After a while, he continued to look down, and the first line he saw was not their record of stepping on the snow peak. 13 hours. One person. It's 2 hours faster than a group of us. Shieldman rubbed his eyes unwillingly, trying to see more clearly. However, contrary to expectations, everything he saw was true. Who is Zhang Shuyu here? He suddenly had a premonition in his heart. Couldn't it be the little junior brother he met yesterday? How can this be? This group of them has been preparing for a long time, with excellent equipment and perfect configuration, and the tacit understanding that has been running in for a long time has reached the peak. But that little guy, the shield man, was hit hard, and he squatted silently on the ground without saying a word. The other people in the formation thought it was funny when they saw his sad look. How flamboyant this group of people was when they came to the dungeon formation before, how sluggish they are now. Those who stepped on Shifang couldn't help feeling at this moment that the glory they earned through hard work was nothing in front of others. It's so embarrassing. Brother, let's go. Well, yes, I have to go back and report to the peak master. Although their record this time was severely left behind by a young monk, they still broke the record. The shield warrior was persuaded by his brothers and sisters, stood up, and finally glanced at the panel unwillingly. After the 40 people who stepped on Shifang disappeared in place, many people laughed. It's so funny. I'm so lucky to see 2 face slapping scenes in one day. Yeah, let's hurry up and enter the dungeon, maybe we can get something good. For a while, everyone felt that this was a good time to play a dungeon, and they all chose to enter. Of course, most of them were ordinary disciples. Because Fu Yanxi always relied on that he was the grandson of the master of the Snow Peak, always flaunting his power and bringing other disciples to suppress them. His arrogance is extremely arrogant, and many people have long disliked him, but there is a gap in resources, and he is powerless to resist. The next day, Zhang Shuyu woke up naturally after falling asleep. After opening his eyes, he couldn't help stretching. The whole body is comfortable, the mood is great, and all the states have returned to the peak. Ah, I finally feel comfortable. I feel tired for a long time. After washing up, he ate the food left by Bai Lixi. I don't know what the little girl who used to be her sister is doing now. Although he already knew from Xingzhen that Shui Linguo is rare, but he still wants to try his luck and level up by the way. Anyway, he has nothing to do recently. Moreover, the science and engineering student had a mental attack, so he wanted to check again if only the summoning skill was special. Copy array. As soon as he landed, a person ran up and blocked his way. Hi, are you Zhang Shuyu? Zhang Shuyu frowned subconsciously. This was the first time he had encountered such an impolite person since he came to the cultivation world. In the way of the other, return the body of the other. Haven't you heard anything out of the way? When the other party saw Zhang Shuyu's attire before, he was just an ordinary disciple. Now seeing Zhang Shuyu's lack of humility, he looked down on him even more. HMPH. I advise you not to toast or eat fine wine. Brother Fu Yanxi wants to see you, so come with me. Toast. It's really interesting, then let him come to me by himself. After finishing speaking, Zhang Shuyu walked towards the barren snowfield on his own. Presumptuous. Do you know who senior brother Fu Yanxi is? Zhang Shuyu didn't turn his head back, but only said lightly, I need to know. His figure dissipated before the entrance of the dungeon, leaving only the disciple with a messy expression on his face. I have long heard that Zhang Shuyu has some relationship with Xingzhen, but I didn't expect to be so proud, maybe. Who, even if there is a relationship, can there be a closer relationship with the peak owner's grandson? He gritted his teeth, with a look of resignation. Just an ordinary disciple, what kind of capital does he have to be arrogant? Help, Brother Zhang went in again. After he updates his record, won't he give us a chance? Cut, you have a shitty chance, you can't beat the first record alone. Tisk, why are you so annoying? You're just talking nonsense. ... Everyone is too lazy to discuss the farce just now. Because anyone with a discerning eye can see that if Fu Yanxi troubles Zhang Shuyu again, he will only be trampled in the face in the end. Respecting strength is the consensus in the cultivation world. So now they are even more looking forward to seeing Zhang Shuyu achieve another glory. However, the team dungeon had to be played for at least 10 hours, and when they finish the dungeon, Zhang Shuyu might still be in it. Treading Shifeng, senior brother, that kid didn't give you face at all, and told you to find him yourself. Hey, how dare an ordinary disciple be so arrogant? Is it the confidence given to him by Xingzhen? It's just a fox pretending to be a tiger, and I haven't seen any intersection between Xingzhen and that brat. The man added fuel and jealousy, wishing to start a fire between the two of them, so that Zhang Shuyu could learn a lesson. A bumpkin who doesn't understand anything, really thinks he's amazing now. If he steps into the second level and becomes useless, do you think he can cause any trouble? Master, I asked him to come here because I wanted to show him some face. If that's the case, don't worry about it in the future. If you meet him outside, you must give him a hard lesson. Fu Yanxi's eyes flashed fiercely, and that disciple's eyes also harbored insidiousness. Yes, brother. As expected, yesterday's incident escalated very quickly. There are many monks in the entire Holy Land who did not know the character of Fu Yanxi before, but they all know that one-sided conflict between him and Zhang Shuyu. This time he severely lost face and made a big joke. Therefore, Fu Yanxi originally planned to take Zhang Shuyu under his command, so as to save some lost face. But I didn't expect that guy to ignore me at all. If it wasn't because he was not easy to do it in the Holy Land, he would have come to him long ago. Desolate snowfield. The cold wind was still bitter. Zhang Shuyu called out the Luduanjia and wrapped himself in it. 184 undead puppets and 85 ghost magicians appeared together and swept out in a fan shape. The Dorje beasts encountered on the road were beheaded as soon as they appeared, and there was no chance of eating blood and drinking flesh. In just an hour, they arrived at the entrance of the permafrost cave. Zhang Shuyu didn't let the puppets make a move, but took advantage of his small size. Each dragged a muskox on the frozen ground and ran towards the depths of the cave, attracting all the muskox to a snowy forest. It took more than half an hour to run this way. If it weren't for his monk physique, Zhang Shuyu would have been tired and collapsed long ago. It wasn't until he saw the frost hair larva that Zhang Shuyu stopped the puppets and raised his sword. By the time Zhang Shuyu caught up, most of the musk oxen and frost caterpillars had already died, and Zhang Shuyu used his skills quickly. Bang, bang, bang. The entire snow forest erupted with noise, and the thick snow was blown up, exposing the ice layer underneath. After all the monsters were dead, he let the undead puppets continue to explore the way, and he stayed where he was and continued to use his skills. There is no way, only multi-use can improve proficiency. And last time he had a premonition that it was almost time to upgrade. Sure enough, after he exhausted half of his mental power, Bone Explosion rose to LV.3. From now on, the explosion range is increased to 90 meters in diameter, and the damage is 9 times the blood bar. It will be much easier to fight the boss later. When the puppets arrived at the wormhole, Zhang Shuyu found that there was no snow spirit fruit this time, and he felt a little regretful. This time it's really for pure leveling. The undead puppets made a movement here, and after attracting all the larvae in the snow, they ran towards the inside of the wormhole. What else can frost caterpillars do? Chase. In this way, the undead puppets rushed to the place where the queen was with a clear goal. Behind them are densely packed, all of which are the appearance of frost caterpillars at various stages of growth. Zhang Shuyu had the urge to make specimens of them and upload them as strategies. Of course, just thinking about it. He put on the 6-stage armor silently, and followed the big team far away. But after arriving at the location of the queen, the frost caterpillars and even the formed snowfield butterflies dare not go in. Well, the coercion of the boss is always the strongest. He understood and responded to it. A few undead puppets dealt with one, and almost killed it instantly, waiting for Zhang Shuyu to come to perform the bone bomb. After blasting several waves in a row, Zhang Shuyu finally realized the importance of blue medicine. No matter how small a fly's legs are, they are still meat. It's too disgusting, let's be a sparrow. With at least one bottle of blue potion replenished, he can perform another 10 times of bone bombing, or put on 6-stage armor a few times. After clearing the passage, Zhang Shuyu rushed into the queen's lair with a large team. Looking at the old familiar beast, Zhang Shuyu groaned with a smile. Hit the nearest guard first. After giving the order, the puppets and magicians focused on a guard and attacked fiercely. Before he lasted for a few seconds, the guard died. At this time, the other 3 had already used their meat shield skills. Of course, the queen of the frost caterpillar also reacted, and began to use her skills. But Zhang Shuyu has long experienced its skills, it's just tickling. The shadow shields all opened spontaneously, and the puppets waved their swords, emitting a yellow light, and the sky filled with magic was thrown on them. After Zhang Shuyu made an indiscriminate blast, all the guards were seriously injured. At this time, the Worm Queen was also tortured by the soul fire, and kept shrinking her huge body, hiding herself in a white cocoon. But it doesn't matter, the sword of the undead puppet will shoot. Thunderbolt was released, and the yellow light flourished. Zhang Shuyu mercilessly threw the worm bodies of the 3 personal guards on it, and used them to explode with bones. 3 explosions sounded one after another. The cocoon kept shaking, and Zhang Shuyu heard the scream of the queen with satisfaction. Not long after, the rustling of plush and the frozen soil sounded, and soon, the outside of the cave was almost filled with frost caterpillars. There are too many to count. Do it. Fortunately, Zhang Shuyu had already had many undead puppets guarding the door, a child with a knife, and various skills of the magicians. All of a sudden, the entire wormhole was dyed in strange colors. But the frost caterpillars who came behind still went on, with incomparable bravery. The experience value is gradually increasing, but it is much slower than last time. Also, he is now LV.27, and it is normal to be slower. At this moment, he had completely forgotten that Shu Wan and Sun Yangyang were still struggling with their ranks. You have to throw away the goods. 10 minutes later, there were no more Zerg rushing in the entire passage, and the cocoons in the entire den no longer emitted gleaming white light, gradually weakening. At this time, the Worm Queen had recovered from all injuries. But unfortunately, the undead puppets had already raised their swords in front of the cocoon, waiting to fall down. Laugh. Blood splattered, and the sky filled with magic followed. This time its fate was completely different from the last time. Last time it was able to struggle a bit, but this time it didn't even have a chance to use its skills. After killing the frost caterpillar, experience plus 960000, get yellow level frost fur staff 1, yellow level frost fur ring 1, low level beast core. The loot is one less egg than last time, but if it can be exchanged for spirit stones, that's fine. Seeing the stairs appear, Zhang Shuyu let the undead puppets and ghost magicians continue to rush forward to find the way for him. After running for a while, I saw the exquisite ice castle as expected. At this time, he already knew that the gate of the ice castle needed something else to open it, but he needed to collect materials and ask someone to make it. Zhang Shuyu didn't want to waste that time, he might as well let the undead puppets simply and roughly break it open. It has been 5 hours since he entered the dungeon. Zhang Shuyu had already prepared the magicians for magic, and threw it towards the snowballs above the sky. Not only that, Zhang Shuyu immediately ordered his men to focus fire on one of the bears and foxes after solving the snowballs outside the outermost periphery in the ice square. When the bears and foxes were about to be killed, Zhang Shuyu let the puppets lurk around the ice castle, captured the 5-tailed foxes with honey pupils, and executed them all. In just a few minutes, the gate of the ice castle has been breached. All the bears and foxes along the way, as well as 5 or 7 or 8-tailed foxes, were harvested. After passing through the ice sculptures, the golems pushed open the palace gates. The ice and snow 9-tailed fox was still the same as before, full of sluggishness, with endless sluggishness and disdain in his eyes. "Excuse me, it seems that you can't sleep well." After Zhang Shuyu finished speaking, the mages had already attacked first, consuming a lot of 9-tailed fox's blood. When it used its skills impatiently, Zhang Shuyu had already run outside the palace to take precautions. Dozens of undead puppets formed a shield to block foxfire at the entrance of the palace. The rest of the puppets rushed up and rushed forward. Those who grab the hair, those who hug the tail, and the strength is very strong, and they are no longer thrown out like last time. Except for the fact that the ice and snow 9-tailed fox is stronger than the puppet in 2 statistics, and its skills are stronger, the others are not good at all. In this round, within half an hour, 9-tailed fox fell to the ground. Kill LV.36 Ice and Snow 9-tailed fox, experience plus 240000, get green level Ice and Snow Magic Book 1, get green level Ice and Snow 9-tailed feathers 1, green level Ice and Snow 9-tailed knife 1, Emperor level Beast Core. At this time, 6 hours had passed since he entered the barren snowfield. As he expected, he did not upgrade this time. Copy array. All the people who came after hearing the bell were too scared to speak, because Zhang Shuyu's record at this moment is half of what it took before. There were even people who were so frightened that they choked, and the spirit fruit they gnawed on fell to the ground. When Zhang Shuyu appeared from the dungeon vortex, many people still hadn't recovered. "Brother Zhang, no. Brother, please bring Kak. Brother Zhang, are you accepting disciples? Please take me to a deserted snowfield. The Holy Land mission is really too difficult for me. Junior Brother Zhang, you are not a junior, you go and apply to be an elder and start a class. Please, Holy Land missions are really a dog, no more dogs." The people who spoke were basically ordinary disciples. Because the barren snowfield is too difficult, they have no way to get into the dungeon, and they can't find everyone. Even if they are all found, no one can organize them well, without complete armament, nor a qualified military advisor, let alone a strong leader. At this time, this place, this person is completely in line with the right time, place and people. As long as they can ask Zhang Shuyu for help, their task will not be a problem. The only problem now is, Zhang Shuyu doesn't seem to be formally worshipped in the Holy Land yet, he can only be counted as a reserve. It's hard to say whether he will help them. Really? Zhang Shuyu blinked his eyes, a little confused. "Brothers, what mission are you talking about? Junior Brother Zhang, you are new here and don't understand. In fact, every disciple will be asked to do a series of tasks after entering the Holy Land. Yes, only after completing these tasks can we enter the inner peak, because we have been stuck for a long time, and we dare not even think about the big peak." Someone added, "Now we are almost all stuck on one task, which is to open up the barren snowfield. We don't need experience, we don't need to be armed, we don't need any dropped items, as long as we can beat this instance." Zhang Shuyu frowned. Didn't you say that as long as you pay the contribution value, you can find someone to take it? There is indeed such a saying, but most of them are created by insiders. How can us ordinary disciples get into the eyes of others? Everyone laughed at themselves. Seeing Zhang Shuyu's silence, everyone put forward their requests cautiously. So, junior brother Zhang, we all know that you haven't received the mission, so, excuse me, can we exchange it with contribution points? Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.